The Amalfi Coast is the most scenic travel destination in Italy. This 50-kilometer section of southern Italy's coastline is the stuff postcards are made of. The Amalfi Coast is everything you imagine Italy to be: romantic, dramatic, and beautiful. From here, the mighty Amalfi Republic once started its maritime conquest. Centuries later, the region became a huge travel attraction. The Amalfi Coast attracts over 5 million tourists annually, a staggering number for such a compact region. Positano and Amalfi bear the weight of the visitors, while the calmer towns provide refuge. The SS 163 Amalfi Coast Road is famously scenic and famously terrifying. Narrow, winding, and crowded, it's not for the faint of heart. The coast's steep terrain is both a challenge and a gift. Villages cascade down the cliffs like living sculptures. Under the Mediterranean heat, the sea below shimmers like spilled ink and has a wildly blue color. The entire Amalfi Coast was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1997, reason enough for us to visit 9 towns, going from west to east. If you're coming from Naples or Sorrento, Positano is the first major town you encounter along the famous SS 163 Amalfi Drive. It sits on the western edge of the Amalfi Coast, about 37 kilometers from Naples and not far from Sorrento. It's undoubtedly the most famous and iconic town on the Amalfi Coast, and its fame comes from its sheer aesthetic appeal. The town's reputation for luxury, glamour, and cinematic beauty makes it a bucket list destination for travelers worldwide. Positano wasn't always a glamorous hotspot. It was part of the powerful Amalfi Republic during the Middle Ages. But like many coastal towns, it faced pirate raids, which led to the construction of defensive watchtowers that still can be seen on the coast today. By the 20th century, Positano transformed. Artists, writers, and celebrities discovered its charm. John Steinbeck wrote about it in 1953 and called it a dream place. His essay catapulted Positano to international fame, and it hasn't looked back since. Today, Positano is a tourism juggernaut. It's the most visited town on the Amalfi Coast. Unlike quieter neighbors like Praiano or Ravello, Positano is synonymous with glamour. The beach, Spiaggia Grande, is a pebble-strewn crescent that feels like the heart of Positano. The Tyrrhenian Sea stretches endlessly beyond it, a shimmering blue that makes the town feel like it's floating on water. But this popularity comes at a price. During peak season, the town is bursting at the seams. The narrow streets are clogged with tourists, and finding a spot on Spiaggia Grande feels like winning the lottery. Shopping here is an experience. You'll find all kinds of handcrafted leather sandals and flowing linen dresses. Just be prepared to pay luxury prices. Once you're in Positano, walking is the only way to get around. Positano's layout means everything is either uphill or downhill. Narrow, winding alleys and staircases are an unforgettable experience. The pastel-colored houses aren't random. Local regulations require them to be painted in specific shades to maintain Positano's iconic look. While the influx of visitors keeps the economy thriving, it also makes everyday life for residents challenging. The cost of living is high, and the streets are rarely quiet. Compared to other Amalfi Coast towns, Positano is the showstopper. Amalfi may be historic, and Ravello may have better views, but Positano is everyone's darling.
Tired of rushing to the post office or missing important mail while traveling? Meet Traveling Mailbox, your virtual mailbox solution. Here's how it works. They scan your postal mail so you can view it online as PDFs, forward packages worldwide, and even deposit checks remotely. Plus, enjoy unlimited cloud storage, junk mail shredding, and integrations with Google Drive or Dropbox. Best part? You get shipping discounts, a mobile app, and 24/7 customer support, all for less than the cost of a P.O. box. Ditch the hassle and manage your mail from anywhere. Sign up now using my link below. That's Traveling Mailbox. Your mail simplified.
The nearby village of Praiano is a great alternative to Positano if you want to avoid the crowds. Located only a 15-minute drive away, the peaceful charm and local flavor of Praiano, a tiny fishing community, are sometimes difficult to find along Amalfi Coast's well-beaten path. Geographically, Praiano is split into two main areas, Vietri Maggiore, which faces Positano, and Praiano proper, overlooking the sea toward Amalfi. Vietri Maggiore is home to the Church of San Gennaro. This 16th century church is known for its serene piazza with a view of the sea and its eye-catching dome covered in Maiolica tiles. There are only small walkways between the houses, barely wide enough for a donkey, and no cars or true roads except from the one large road that runs down the coast, just like in Positano. Although it is possible to drive to the town, parking is quite limited. Therefore, the best option is to arrive to Marina di Praiano by boat, or to take a bus or scooter. The village has a little beachum underneath it. It is accessible by descending roughly 400 steps on a concrete stairway. The beaches around here are mostly just flat concrete slabs on the rocks, with a steep staircase that takes you back up to the real world. For newlyweds, families, and lone tourists seeking a more genuine Amalfi experience, Praiano looks ideal. Unlike other villages along the Amalfi coast, Furore is truly unique. It's quieter, smaller, and more niche. It is not centered on a busy piazza or hanging down cliffs. Rather, it hides. Set high above the ocean, this peaceful community has a stunning secret, a fjord straight out of a fairy tale book. Fiordo di Furore is a narrow inlet where the sea cuts into the cliffs. A small beach and blue Mediterranean waves are framed by sheer granite walls that rise on either side. A 30-meter high bridge crosses the gap above it all and provides one of the most recognizable views of the Amalfi coast. The Amalfi Drive, built in the 19th century, was intended to connect the cities of the Amalfi coast. The bridge over Furore's fjord was an important part of this complex project. But the view from the bridge above the fjord is not the only reason it is famous. It's a popular cliff diving destination, and it hosts the annual Mare Cliff Diving Championship since 1990. Divers from all over the world jump from the bridge into the crystal clear waters below. The height of 30 meters adds an element of danger that makes each dive a spectacle. The little, quiet beach at the base of the fjord is accessible via a steep staircase or by boat. If you accept the hairpin turns that curve up and down a hill to arrive to Conca dei Marini, you'll find it to be a charming area. The village's shape, a seaside valley filled with little white houses, gives it its name. It may have been established by the Tirrenians under the name Cosa. Conca dei Marini is undoubtedly an idyllic spot, but what exactly is there to do there? Not a lot, to be honest, but enough for a single day of exploration. Visitors come here to escape, to relax, to enjoy the scenery without the crowds. One of the most remarkable Saracen towers on the Amalfi coast is the Tower of Silence, also known as the White Tower. Originally constructed as a cemetery in the 6th century, the White Tower provides an amazing view, particularly when viewed from the sea. Conca dei Marini has a population of around 700 residents and is one of the smallest towns on the Amalfi coast. There is a tiny marina with fishing boats and shimmering waters at sea level. Sitting on terraces above, the village is surrounded by Mediterranean scrub, lemon groves, and olive trees. The two are connected by staircases and narrow walkways. The stunning Emerald Grotto, with its emerald tints reflecting off the underwater rocks, is accessible by lift or stairs. Amalfi is one of the busiest towns on the coast, second only to Positano in popularity. Its history is larger than life. Along with Venice, Genoa, and Pisa, it was one of the 4 major maritime republics of medieval Italy. Amalfi, which was known for its shipbuilding and navigation, dominated Mediterranean trade in the 10th and 11th centuries. Did you know that the Amalfi Republic even created one of the first maritime laws, the Amalfi Tables? For centuries, this legal system influenced marine activities and regulated trade. But Amalfi's glory didn't last forever. Numerous natural catastrophes, like the disastrous tsunami in 1343, destroyed a large portion of its port and reduced its strength. Amalfi became a sleepy fishing village by the Renaissance, a long way from its heyday. Today, Amalfi welcomes over 2 million visitors annually. The town may feel overrun with tourists in the summer, especially near the waterfront and in the Piazza del Duomo. The crown jewel of Amalfi is the Cathedral of St. Andrew. It stands atop an imposing stairway that draws notice right away and dominates the Piazza del Duomo. The cathedral was built in the 9th century and has been changed many times over the years. These changes created a unique mix of architectural styles. It is dedicated to St. Andrew, whose relics were brought to Amalfi from Constantinople in 1208. The striped facade was inspired by Arab Norman design. Its bronze doors, also imported from Constantinople in 1066, are some of the oldest in Italy. Amalfi streets are narrow and full of surprises. They reflect the town's medieval origins, designed more for pedestrians than for modern vehicles. The main street, Via Lorenzo di Amalfi, is the town's central artery. It leads from the harbour to the Piazza del Duomo. The Vale dei Mulini creates a natural amphitheatre in which Amalfi stands. The town had easy access to the sea and an advantageous position that was safe from invaders. The town's buildings are stacked in tiers as it ascends the cliffs. Vale del Feria, a valley near Amalfi, has uncommon vegetation and a peaceful waterfall. Traveling to Amalfi is difficult due to crowded buses and a lack of parking. The majority of tourists choose shuttle services or ferries. Due to increased tourism, Amalfi is now more expensive for both lodging and dining. That makes it less affordable for tourists on a tight budget. Atrani feels almost like an extension of its larger, more famous neighbour, Amalfi, because of how close they are. Less than a kilometre separates the two towns. They are connected geographically and historically. When Amalfi was a strong maritime republic, its elite lived in the quieter residential area, today known as Atrani. The two towns are connected by a 10-minute pedestrian walkway. Despite being so close to Amalfi, Atrani has managed to avoid the same level of tourist crowds. Agriculture and fishing, not tourism, were the main drivers of Atrani's economy for many years. The town was not intended to serve tourists. Due in large part to the rise of independent travelers and the impact of social media, Atrani started to garner greater notice in the 2000s. Atrani's history is surprisingly significant for such a little town. Amalfi's doges were crowned here back in the Middle Ages. These ceremonies took place at the Church of San Salvatore de Berrecto. Atrani is cradled between the steep cliffs and the sea. It's small. So small, in fact, that it's the smallest town in Italy by area. The center of the town is Piazza Umberto I. Although it's little, it has everything you need: a fountain, a few cafes, and some locals enjoying espresso. The beach is right at the town's doorstep, separated from the main square by a single road. The main attraction here is Collegiata di Santa Maria Maddalena. This 13th century church is a standout. Its beautiful white and yellow facade is visible from almost anywhere in Atrani. The simplicity of Atrani is what makes it so appealing. It lacks luxury shops and imposing monuments. Rather, it provides peaceful beaches and streets that seem to have been unchanged for generations. Ravello sits about 365 meters above sea level, high in the Lattari Mountains. It's not a coastal town, technically speaking, it's a cliffside hideaway. This elevation gives Ravello some of the best views on the Amalfi coast. They don't call it the Terrace of Infinity for nothing. Unlike Amalfi or Positano, which are crammed into valleys or perched on cliffs, Ravello feels much more open, and there's space to breathe. Ravello has always had an air of sophistication. During the Middle Ages, it thrived as a prosperous trading center within the Duchy of Amalfi. Wealthy merchants built grand villas and palaces to display their success. The town was also known for producing wool and fine textiles, which were exported throughout the Mediterranean. By the 13th century, Ravello's prosperity began to decline alongside Amalfi's diminishing power. But its beauty didn't go unnoticed. In the 19th century, European aristocrats and artists arrived here to find some inspiration. Richard Wagner came. Gore Vidal lived here. Even Greta Garbo hid out here when she wanted to disappear. Today, Ravello stands out as one of Amalfi Coast's most refined destinations. Unlike Positano or Amalfi, it avoids overwhelming crowds. However, it's far from overlooked. With about 1 million visits a year, it is a contender. Considering that the town has fewer than 2,500 residents, these figures are remarkable. Its appeal lies in its peaceful, sophisticated atmosphere. People come here to enjoy classical concerts in the evening and garden walks at sunset. Villa Ruffolo is a masterpiece of Moorish-inspired architecture that was constructed in the 13th century by a prosperous merchant family. Its sea-facing gardens, filled with colorful blooms, are legendary. When Wagner came here, he was so moved that he composed parts of Parsifal. The 11th century Duomo di Ravello was constructed in honor of Saint Pantaleone. As a reminder of Ravello's wealthy past, the bronze doors are located inside the cathedral. Scala is the oldest town on the Amalfi coast. But should it be on your radar? Not really. You're probably not coming to the Amalfi coast to study medieval fortifications or learn about a Benedictine monk who founded the Knights of Malta. Scala doesn't cater to the tourist fantasy. It's quiet, almost too quiet. Peaceful, almost too peaceful. And unless you're specifically looking for isolation, it might just leave you underwhelmed. Scala sits high in the hills, across the valley from Ravello. At 400 meters above sea level, it looks down at the coastline. The terrain gives the impression of a mountain retreat rather than a seaside resort. There are small hamlets, thick greenery, and layered landscapes. The lack of public transport options and parking make Scala feel even more disconnected. The town is for hikers or people who just want to avoid the crowds. But if you're someone who thrives on energy and excitement, you'll be bored here. Vietri sul Mare is the official starting point of the Amalfi coast if you're arriving from Salerno. This is your first taste of the coastline, and what a taste it is! The town sits right at the eastern edge of the Amalfi coast, just 3 kilometers from Salerno. It has a more accessible and less claustrophobic feel. The ceramics industry in Vietri sul Mare, which has existed since at least the 15th century, is an integral part of the city's history. The town's wealth of clay and its favorable location for trade made it a center for pottery production. Historically, Vietri was more of a working-class town, focused on agriculture, fishing, and pottery. While other Amalfi coast towns were building grand cathedrals and maritime fleets, Vietri was quietly mastering its craft. The town is known as the capital of ceramics. As you walk through its streets, you will come across countless stores selling hand-painted tiles and vases. The 17th century church of San Giovanni Battista, with its green and yellow tile dome, is Vietri's most recognizable building. The town's main beach is more functional than attractive. Vietri is compact and walkable. Once you're there, you won't need any transport to explore the town itself. What's your favorite town on the Amalfi coast? Leave a comment and let us know. And don't forget to check out Traveling Mailbox, a fantastic service to help you manage your mail while you're traveling. Use the link below to sign up. Subscribe now to bring you the best videos that you'll definitely love. Hit the like and subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on any new updates. Thanks for your support and stay tuned for more awesome and exciting content. Don't forget to leave a comment and like the video to support us.